Hi guys, Jonathan here. Happy New Year, because we are in 2025 and this is the first video that I'm shooting at my place in 2025. And today we're talking, as you probably read in the title, we're talking about obvious things about photography, like related to photography. And these things are like quotes or posts or mostly quotes or posts that I read on, I don't know, on threads lately, on Instagram, on Reddit, or on photography books. And so I put together basically a sort of compilation of 10 to 12, 13, something like that, quotes, little sentences that we're going to comment together, or I'm going to comment them for you, and we will keep the conversation, we will go on with the conversation in the comment section, like here, down below the video, as it usually is. And if you want to add some new quotes or stuff that I missed in this video, feel free to do it, because this is, I wanted to shoot this like fun and chill video, not it's photography related because it's about photography, but not like always showing actual photography or videography or stuff like that. So yeah, I think that I already talked too much, so let's go with the first one. So I created this Google Doc with these quotes, and we'll start with the first one, that is, you shouldn't shoot everything wide open. Yes, as I said, in the title of this video, it's about obvious things about photography, and if one person knows like at least something about aperture related to photography, this person knows that every type of aperture from, 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, f2 up to f11, f22. There's a reason for every aperture. It depends on the background separation. We all know this. It depends on the amount of light that you want to allow into the sensor. So it's, it's pretty obvious, but it's, but at the same time, if I can add something, because it's still my video, there are some lenses that you buy, that you pay like a lot, like some, 50 millimeters f1.2, that you actually, you pay all that money just because, mostly because they go up to f1.2, for example, because you feel like you need that kind of aperture to, mostly for the bokeh effect for some people, I guess, or to shoot like in low light, this kind of stuff. So yes, you shouldn't shoot everything wide open, but at the same time, if you are buying something that costs you like a used car, it makes sense to use also the wide open function. In the aperture, because you are spending that kind of money for that reason. If not, you can buy something cheaper with a darker aperture and call it a day. So it's obvious, but is it obvious? Then the second one, the important thing is the photographer, like rather than the camera and the lens. And I agree on that, honestly. I'm the living example of this because I'm shooting Micro Four Thirds in 2025. I know that I'm not alone, but at the same time there's not like this big community. There is actually a community for Micro Four Thirds, but I don't know, most of the photography community in general doesn't think that Micro Four Thirds is enough, is valid, is good to create works of art, or even just to work with photography, this kind of stuff. In my opinion, it's a system that I've always used. I tried also full frame, only tried it. APS-C, I tried it. I tried even smaller formats, like 1-inch sensor, this kind of stuff, but Micro Four Thirds, in my opinion, for the cost, for the quality, and for everything together, for the form, like the size also of the equipment, is the best way to take pictures, but it's only like for me, it's my opinion. Of course, guys, if you are shooting with a full frame, APS-C, whatever, it's with a cell phone even. We're talking about that later in the video also. But I don't know, honestly, it's obvious that the important thing is the photographer. And that's it. This is actually obvious. Then prime lenses are better. Yes, I mean, usually the construction, the aperture, everything, the glass, the quality of glass related to prime lenses is better than zoom lenses. We all know that people usually buy zoom lenses because they are, I mean, not because of their quality, but because you can work with them. They are useful, like if you're going around. For example, I'm shooting this video with a 14-140. There is like a super zoom kit lens for Lumix, and I mean, I'm using this lens like a lot when traveling because it's because it's useful, it's comfortable, it's a lens that can do everything. You know that it's not a prime lens, so it doesn't do like something specific in a good way. But still, I mean, it's a compromise, and it is not having like multiple focal lengths on the same length or on the same lens. So in the end, guys, yes, prime lenses are better, actually better, but are they better? It depends on what you do, of course. It's always like this, talking about photography. Then another one is you're over editing, like no context, it's just you're over editing, like in general you are over editing. I think that it's true, especially for people who are starting out with photography, like doing the first steps on Lightroom, for example, or on Capture One, or I don't know, Lightroom, because I use Lightroom usually, so it's the perfect example for me. And yes, like especially at first when you're starting with photography, it's something that happens like a lot to over edit, because you want to achieve that kind of editing level that you see pros have, like on Instagram, on YouTube, this kind of stuff, and sometimes you miss the right path because you just want to play around with all the different tabs, this kind of stuff. So yes, usually people are over editing, and yeah, the sooner you understand that you are probably over editing and that you are actually ruining your photos, that you shouldn't edit like that much, and you should aim at take the right pictures that moment without thinking that you can correct everything in post-production. The sooner you do all of this, the better it will be, like for your photography in general. So this is actually a good advice for people who are starting, and sometimes for people who are already into photography, like doing photography for years. Sometimes it happens. Then if your photos aren't good enough, you are not close enough. This is a quote by Robert Capa, and I mean, I don't want to contradict Robert Capa, especially because when we are talking about him and this quote specifically, we are talking, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is the pictures that he took during the Second World War in the north of France, when the Americans arrived like on the beach and at defeating the Nazis, this kind of stuff. So yes, I mean, he's allowed to say that. Of course, it's not always like this. Sometimes people prefer using longer lenses, like telephoto lenses, for their street photography or for other genres. So it's not always like this. I think that, but I think that this quote goes well with another quote that I have here, that is something like you have to feel the frame. That one of the most important things in photography is to feel the frame. And one error that as photographers we tend to do is leaving like unused space and staying too far from what we are taking a picture of, because I don't know, because we are scared, because we are shy. Of course, guys, it depends on what you're doing, but at the same time, if you try to fill the frame and to have like good and important elements all over the frame, and you get closer to your subject with your body or with your lens, like with the telephoto function, for example, with a longer focal length, usually it does, it's a good way to start having like notion of what like also graphically a good photograph is. So the sense of the picture, of course, is important, the meaning of the picture, but also, I mean, graphically it has to be appealing, because you're showing these pictures to people, and people are like humans with eyes, and there are some things that composition-wise are more appealing than others. So I think that more or less Kappa was trying to say in this, taking into consideration that he was talking about the World War II context and all this kind of stuff. So this is my interpretation of the whole thing. Then, networking is more important than doing photography. No, I don't think so. Some people say this, but because they are more like work-oriented. Of course, networking is important if you are trying to get clients, if you're trying to collaborate with people. Of course, you have to deal with people because in everything that you do, like in this life, you are, almost in everything that you're doing in this life, you are dealing with people. So it's good to have this kind of soft skills to be able to network as well. It's not the only thing, because if you're only good at marketing your work and your work is not good enough, or it's useless, using like a bad term, or I don't know, it's just something that is not appealing to others, in the end you will be able to market something that is not that interesting, and people will soon forget about what you're marketing. So in the end it's good to be able to market stuff, to deal with people, to talk with people, to listen to people especially, but the product itself, your product, what you're presenting should be like good enough. So you should focus on photography more, in my opinion, and then focus on marketing later on in your career, in your path that you're pursuing. Then photography brands only want to make money, so basically you shouldn't expect something like good from photography brands apart from them trying to make money and to take out money off your wallet. Yes, I mean, yes, because photography brands are brands, and every kind of brand tries to get more money every year and to grow. So it's this is pretty obvious. There are some brands that do this like more directly, other brands that do this less directly, but at the same time, I mean, if a brand is coming out with a new camera like every 6 months, and this new camera has a slight improvement or stuff that is not noticeable for like 99% of the people, and some people are still investing their money on new cameras that have like this slightly better feature that is like this. I feel like it's not referred to people like me who only buy used gear. My gear is like at least 10 years old. I only have like Lumix bodies from like, I don't know, 2012, 2013, 2014. Not saying that they are the best bodies, best cameras available like in the world of photography, but at the same time it depends on your needs, and usually photography brands are doing this, so you should be able at one point, after like doing photography for a while, to understand what you actually need for your photography and what you don't need. And you can't expect the camera brands to make this decision for you. And that's like obvious, as the title of this video says. Then we have another one: marry the lens and date the camera. Yes, I agree. I'm marrying the cameras as well, because I'm using always the same two cameras, the Lumix G80 and the GX80. Like I've been using these cameras for a while now, for some years. But in general, it's a good quote in my opinion, because the lens is what makes the difference. As I was saying before, I'm shooting this video with a 14 to 140 that I'm using like a lot when I travel, when I have the possibility to travel. Yes, so this is a good lens for this purpose. Then I have the 20mm f1.7 that I use for street photography, for occasional portraits, for videography as well. Like every lens has a purpose, and an important thing that you should do like while you are learning photography, and also later on in your photography path, let's call it like that, is to understand the difference between lenses and the focal lengths that you prefer, and what they are made for, basically. So yes, at one point you will choose some lenses that will be your staples, the lenses that you are going to use most of the time, but the cameras are a different it's a different story, because basically with a good lens you can take a good picture also with a bad camera, but with a bad lens on a good camera doesn't make that much sense. Like people were spending like, I don't know, 3,000 euros for a new camera and then throw on like I wanted to say something. I want you guys to guess what I was saying. It's like throw on a adjective / nationality lens that costs less than 100 euros and expect it to be good and to deliver results only because the camera is pricey. And it's not like this, unfortunately, because photography is based on the lenses, in my opinion, more than the cameras. And that's it. Then we're getting closer to 20 minutes. The best camera is the one that you always have with you. Yes, more or less. I don't totally agree with this because this is usually referred to smartphones. I hate taking pictures with my smartphone. I have an iPhone that takes good pictures, like in general, but I just don't like the act of taking pictures with it because I don't know, because in the end, yeah, probably if I really like a picture that I took with my smartphone, I can edit it on Lightroom Mobile, but it's not the same thing. I mean, I cannot choose the lens that I want to use. I'm used to use some particular lenses for my photography, and it's as I was saying before, like talking about the quote before, lenses make the difference, and with my iPhone or with smartphones in general, yeah, we have some different like focal lengths, but it's usually it's digital stuff. It's more like cropping in. It's not that kind of stuff. So for me, it's different. Talking about cell phones. If we talk about portable cameras, like for example my Lumix G80 that is like not exactly pocketable but almost, it's another thing, and I totally agree with this because yes, if a camera is pocketable enough, it's good to try to have it with you like most of the time, and if you don't have a camera you can not take pictures, so it becomes pretty obvious in the end. Then we have your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. This is a quote by Henri Cartier-Bresson, one of the most famous, if not the most famous photographer that ever existed on this earth. So yes, I mean this sentence is about, in my opinion, at least from what I grasp like from it, it's about encouraging people to take a lot of pictures before calling them photographs. I accidentally created another quote, but still I totally agree with this, because of course you have to take a lot of pictures, but at the same time I think that in your photography path you should develop also like a critic sense like of what you're doing, and evaluate like objectively, even if it's difficult to do it, your photography and the stuff that you produce basically. So it can happen that also like in the first steps of this process of learning photography in general, I mean out of luck, out of a good coincidence, this kind of stuff, you can take a good picture. So it's always good to evaluate like in a objective way what you're doing, and not underrate what you're doing just because you're starting or because you're not doing photography for I don't know 15 years, this kind of stuff. So this sentence makes sense, makes total sense in my opinion. As I said before with Kappa, I don't want to contradict Cartier-Bresson on this, but at the same time yeah, I think that a good percentage of all this process is developing this critic sense that I was talking about before. So yes and no. Then we are almost done with this video. Photography has nothing to do with cameras. Yes, I agree on this, because it happens to me like a lot of times that I'm going around not doing photography, like going to my job, for example, in the morning, or going to places doing stuff that is not related to photography, and I'm like observing something in particular. I don't know, something in the sky, something close to me, something far from me, a person that is coming at me or going away, or this kind of stuff. So stuff in general, stuff that you can observe in the world that is around you. And I don't have a camera with me, and I'm thinking like, oh, I could do this. If I had a camera, I could frame this in like this way. I could use this focal length. I would use this particular aperture. All these kind of things that happen when you're doing photography like for a while. So photography, it's not strictly related to cameras. Of course, you need a camera to take a picture. That is like common sense. We know it. But at the same time, it's something that gets stuck in your brain at one point, and you start to think like that every time that you find something interesting that you would like to photograph. So it's something that starts in your head, in your brain, in your eyes, rather than in your camera, at least in my opinion. And then the last one is shoot the adjective and not the noun. This is 120, 130, 150% true, because this basically means, like in a few words, at least from what I get from this quote, that you should photograph what something makes you feel and not what something is. Like talking about a situation, a particular atmosphere, in my opinion, stuff like this. And I totally agree with this, because it's true, and the best photographs are photographs about something rather than photographs of something. So this is it's not that obvious in my opinion, because a lot of the pictures that I see around on Instagram, for example, on YouTube as well, are photographs of things that almost everyone could make, in my opinion. And it's different. I mean, when you find pictures that are about something that makes you feel something, that is what I'm trying to do with my pictures. Of course, sometimes I will succeed on this, sometimes I will fail. Probably taking my numbers into consideration, I'm more failing than succeeding in this in the last years. But it's not, I mean, this video is not about this. So yes, I think that I totally agree on this sentence. And this video can end here, because I mean, it's already long, already 26 minutes. I have to crop something out of this video, of course. And leave in the comments the sentences that you feel like I missed, talking about obvious things about photography, quotes, and kind of stuff, so that we can continue the conversation there. And that's it for today, guys. See you in the next video, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. Bye.